basically Top Model called me and was like, it's not a good idea. What if you show up with a black eye for the shoot?
God.
I was like, okay, why do I even tell these people things? Like, seriously, what's the worst that happens? You get like a busted lip or a black eye. I went on the show with a black eye, for crying out loud. I just put makeup on it. Nobody saw it. Nobody ever made any comments about it. Yeah. So it's just, you heal so fast that it seems dumb. I've only had one major injury and did not happen in this timeline of my life, thankfully.
You're listening to Board with Nelly.
Welcome back to another edition of the Board with Nelly podcast. Today I'm joined with Mckey Alvey, who is the Season 11, Cycle 11 winner of America's Next Top Model. She has a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and most impressively probably is she's the mother of 5 or 7. How many kids are you at?
I've lost count.
Yeah.
There's 5 of them right now.
Wow, that's impressive. So I'm really excited to have you here. I actually just finished watching the entire season of America's Next Top Model last night.
You did not.
I did.
Oh my gosh. Just for homework or because you enjoy this?
A little bit of both, actually. You know, at first it kind of felt like homework, but then I kind of got invested. I'm not going to lie. I got really invested.
Well, that's exciting. Yeah, I had never seen a season before mine, and then I watched mine, and I watched a lot of the one after mine, and you do get into it.
You said you liked soccer growing up. How did modeling come into the picture, I guess?
Oh boy, that is a story, I guess. I got 3 knee surgeries from soccer, actually. And on my first one, it was a very, very long recovery, and I was dying to do something. So there happened to be a modeling competition. It was a couple hours away. My mom and I road tripped it, and I had never really been interested in modeling, but a lot of people always said I should do it. So I was like, well, it's a competition and I've got nothing else going on, and I'm pretty sure I could walk down a runway. This would be fine.
Right.
So I went and did that, and I ended up winning that and getting to go on to the national competition, which I did not win, but I had a contract then. And so I stuck with it for a little bit, but it was just too mean for me, honestly. I was too athletic, too muscular, and I just got tired of being called in at 16 and being told, put it on a swimsuit, then they take pictures of you, then they take you out to lunch and they say, this is what you look like from behind. Look at all these areas on your body. This is what people see when you go to castings. Where's your food journal? And I couldn't handle it.
Right. Well, it's such a different thing, right? Soccer is so much talent-based, and it seems like modeling, there's so much, these elements that are so out of your control, and they're getting scrutinized to this like microscopic level. It must be a completely different thing when you're talking about competitions in soccer and competitions in modeling, right?
As long as you're winning, it's all the same.
Is it?
Yeah, no, it's definitely different, but it's funny how much similar there was between my career and Sam's career. We were both going, it just, he's got to cut weight. I've got to get down to a certain size. And, there's so much similar as far as dealing with criticism and being able to really just handle a job that requires so much of you physically, I guess.
Right. And it's interesting. When I talked to your husband, I kind of realized you both did a competition for the career path that you were doing at the time, like an American TV show style competition.
Yeah.
Like,
while we were both dating, we were with each other through both of it. So yeah, it was fun. I did mine first, and he waited back home. He had his first pro fight 2 weeks after I got home, or 1 week. And from filming that competition, I didn't tell him if I won or not.
You could?
I let him. I wasn't supposed to, but I also just didn't.
Just to mess with him, yeah.
Well, I've spent 8 weeks of my life poured into this. I figured I might as well get some enjoyment out of it. So I let all my friends and family watch it so that I could enjoy their reactions. And then that finished airing. A couple of years later, he did his show, and he wasn't as successful, that guy.
You can always hold that over him just to mess with him.
Oh, he always points it out. He's like, well, you're the winner. You're the winner.
I mean, there's so much interesting stuff in the show. Watching it from the outside looking in, the level of scrutiny in the show, has any of that kind of stuff changed, or is that the norm in the scene?
I do think it is changing because of social media. There's a lot more having to do with your internet presence now, and there's so much more that can make you, I guess, a face now. Versus when I was modeling, it was difficult because they really wanted you to have a certain look, but not have a recognizable name behind you. You were meant to be anonymous, but pretty. Anonymous but pretty.
Why?
So
Why
that
would that?
when
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you were gonna explain.
because otherwise you're selling your own brand versus the brand that you're being hired to sell. So it was a very tough thing for me after the show because you have to kind of, I guess, find a way to hide the fact that you were on top model while also using it for other parts of your career. But when certain people would find out, they're like, no, you know what? If we wanted a celebrity, we'd go with a bigger celebrity. Like it was
Wow, right.
big, but it wasn't big enough. They're like, if we want the name recognition of somebody else's brand to hold us up, we want it to be a big brand versus, you coming in and attaching your brand to our brand. But now there's so many people that have their own, brands, their own looks and styles that I feel like there's a lot more collaboration, if you will, trying to use these social media terms. But thankfully it was all after my time and I don't have to deal with any of this stuff.
Well, it's kind of a blessing and a curse,
it.
no? Because like you could have made so much more money if you were from that era.
It's so true. If it was just a couple of years earlier or later for me, I feel like life would have been good. One of my biggest criticisms was, wow, you have such a look from the 90s. Oh my gosh, your look it would have been so great in the 90s. I was like, okay, well, it's not the 90s.
That's so cool.
What am I supposed to do? Turn
Yeah.
myself back in time? That's not really criticism I can work with, guys. And then, the show is obviously great for building your brand. So it would have been good recognition for today's market that's a little different. But as far as the sizing, everything is different now, I feel like, because there's so much pressure on companies to conform to
societal
more of what
norms.
What people see on TikTok, what people see on, Instagram, what they want to see, I guess, is more what you do see, because you see a lot of the same things, but people want to see more diversity and they want to see more body positivity and all that good stuff that was not around when I was on the picture.
Right. You brought up a good point, like things you can't control, because I noticed that's a very big theme in the show. There was one girl, Ukrainian girl, Russian girl, she had tattoos. There was another girl, they said she was like hoochie, but like there's really nothing there from an actual critic's point. Like, what is she supposed to do to change some of these things? It seems like there was a lot of things that are not really in your control. Did you feel that way about your look or your career as well?
Absolutely. But I feel like I got very good at listening to what I could change and what I couldn't change and just letting it go. I might not have had the most successful career, but I was able to put myself through school. I had food. I had an apartment. I had a good life.
Those are pretty good, yeah.
I am thrilled with my career. And I feel like a lot of that was just being able to tune out what I didn't. It's not so much what I didn't want to hear as much as what I couldn't change, or what it would be I would be changing for one client that would put me out of the mix for the other clients.
Right. Do you think your MMA kind of background also helped you? Because MMA is such a difficult and humbling sport that it seemed like when I was watching the show, you arrived way more mentally prepared than almost anyone else there.
Yeah, I mean, I think having an outlet is good for anybody. When you invest yourself so much in something, you need to have something else to balance you, I think. And MMA was that for me. It was something that I was able to do on the side, and I was supposed to be doing yoga or Pilates or something because I was too muscular. And at some point I was just like, forget this. You know what? I'm going to train. I'm going to cover my bruises. I'm going to be a little bit more muscular, but at least I'm going to arrive sane and ready to do my job and not fall apart. Versus so many of the girls, they're so invested. I did a lot of mentorship after the show with young models. And that was just a big thing. Like, hey guys, still go to school, still have life dreams. Don't just like cigarettes are not a hobby. You need to have something that's there on the side for you that's going to be there when this is not there.
Yeah. And it's a lot of them I see are kind of shaping their personalities and how they look is because, not that you have to, but when you get someone like Tyra Banks says, "Oh, you need to put on a different shirt," like I look at that today and I'm like just cringing. Like you're telling her how to dress and how to look. In a sense, like maybe you're helping her career, but in another sense, you're destroying her confidence. It seems so ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I came into it pretty mentally tough. I had that first experience modeling, and that tore me apart. And I still would shake if ever I saw my first agent anywhere.
Really? Wow.
Yes. So I had that experience. I'd been torn down. I had parents that were rough on, hard on me. I had coaches that were hard on me. It's one of the best things that can happen to you in life. I know people are very anti-bullying and all that stuff, but sometimes it makes you stronger.
No, adversity is definitely good. And then if you can't, if obviously you don't want people to live in adversity or grow up in adversity, but at the same time, how can we find a way to give them that adversity? And that's where I think MMA does a great job, right?
Yes, absolutely. I wish I had it growing up. I was definitely school outcast. Never had friends. I mean, Sam was a band nerd, so
it's such a weird thing that you both ended up in MMA.
We both ended up in something that I think, probably would have benefited us both growing up. So I guess maybe it's just our post-childhood therapy.
Right. When you said, your agents and people, critiquing you, we were talking about that kind of stuff. I actually have a friend who kind of wanted to do modeling, and she had some questions that if I didn't ask, like, she would probably kill me. So I have some, like, kind of more specific, I guess, modeling questions that I couldn't come up myself. So how did you manage to maintain a truly healthy lifestyle while keeping up with the body standard requirements?
I didn't, honestly.
Didn't?
No. There was one point where I went 9 months with 400 calories or less per day. And it wasn't because I was anorexic. The definition of anorexia is when you don't have a set goal in mind. I had a set goal and I had to stay a certain size. And with my frame, it is impossible for me to have 35-inch hips just with my size and my height without doing that. So that was a struggle. And so it wasn't healthy. At least I knew it wasn't healthy, but it was something I had to do at the time for the life I was living. And then once I moved away from that market, I was able to eat more and have a different body.
Wow.
And it's just kind of the job. I mean, it's what fighters have to do too. Sometimes all of it's not very healthy, but I think mentally where you're at matters, and knowing that you're doing it as a job versus, because you are trying, I don't know, you're not trying to make everybody else find you attractive, but at the same time you are, but it's more so you had to fit a certain size, and I had to fit that size, and that's what I had to do.
That seems so ridiculous. It seems like these lines in the sand are drawn so thin and they vanish and disappear. Like, how do you deal with stereotypes in the industry and that kind of stuff?
Well, honestly, it's just a weird world. There's so much of everything being thrown at you all the time that I think, there definitely are stereotypes, and there definitely are, just not nice people in the field, but there's so much of it that goes every which direction that you just get confused in general. It's like, okay, these guys don't like this. These guys don't like this. These guys are talking about that. And it's just a bunch of stuff. I started so young that it was just all this stuff I had no idea about: drugs, alcohol, racism, casting people to fit a certain color, to fit a certain role. And it was very different for me. And basically I was just like, okay, this is just a different world. We're going to leave this in this box and we'll visit it when we have to.
Right. And it's a weird show because when you win, it's not like a big cash prize. You win some contracts. You win more work.
You win work.
Right. What the hell is that about? Is that what they still do?
I don't know. I haven't seen the show since the season after me, but it was nice because I like to work. So it was good for me because you had to move to New York as part of the cover girl requirements. So I had to be living in the city. I was moving to a city I didn't know. I'd never lived on my own before, really, other than at college, which was just for 1 year.
Right.
And so it was very different for me. And it was good to have something that kept me so busy at first, especially since my agency pretty much imploded a few months after me getting there.
The elite model agency that they hype up in every show, that one?
Yes. They fired their guy that they had for forever, for like over a decade.
Wow.
And almost all of the bookers either left or were fired. And so they did an entire company-wide sweep that just left me utterly confused. And all of a sudden my agent was gone and everybody I had as a contact at the agency was gone. And I was landed with a bunch of people that didn't want me.
And you're a young kid in a new city and, you're by yourself. It's a lot. It seems like you're getting adversity, whether you like it or not, it seems.
Yeah. And you want the one person you really want to like you in modeling is your agent. That's the person that's going to bat for you. That's the person that's getting you jobs. And you have an agent that likes you. And then the next day you have a bunch of agents that don't care about you and you're under contract with them. And it's just like, oh, shoot. Oh, man.
Right.
What do I do now?
For those like contracts that they hype up and those like spreads and whatever, what kind of work do you actually have to do? Is it really like long, like, contracts, like months, years, or what? Because I remember they said cover goal was whatever, $100K contract. And I'm wondering, okay, but how hard is it to actually extract that $100K from that contract?
It really wasn't that bad. I had, I'd say, about 3 months of filming and voiceover work. The voiceover work was definitely the hardest. You'd have to go in there and just for hours, they'd like try and get you to sound the right way. And for me, I feel like it was difficult because one, I don't have an acting background. And two, I wasn't portraying a character. I was being myself.
Right.
And so you're having to re-voice over yourself with yourself. And you have to make yourself sound in a way you would never sound, say things you would never say. And it felt very unauthentic to me. And I didn't like that, but they were great to work with and it was fun. So that was about 3 months. And I'd say the hardest part of, getting your money out of that contract or whatever is just the fact that you have to move to New York. So you're having to move to a new city, furnish an apartment. I lived in Brooklyn and my rent was $1,800 a month for my tiny 1 bedroom, but I had a 1 bedroom. I didn't have a studio or a loft. So I was feeling pretty spoiled about that. And, I think just the setup and everything that you have to pay, and you're not even paid by CoverGirl at that point. So you're having to do all that out of pocket. And I was lucky enough to have parents that, lent me money until I got my money from my contract. But what if somebody didn't have that?
Sure.
I have no idea how you'd be able to fulfill that requirement.
You have to take out a loan to live in a place just to support yourself living in that place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, with no credit. And I guess you could live in model housing, but I think model housing was like $150 a night. I stayed in it for a bit and it was just, that adds up quick. And then they take that right out of your paycheck. So you never even get that money. So
did you feel like when you succeed in something that massive, like obviously Ultimate Fighter would be another good example of that. It's always like, oh, you made it. You did it. You're at the other end of this thing. Now it's like, it's all rainbows and sunshine. And was it like that after or no? Or did you already kind of knew you hated this thing or it was kind of growing apart from you?
I really was happy. I won. That's kind of awesome. And it came with just a lot of opportunities I would have never had. I got to go so many times to different places just to be me, just to be a special guest, just to teach people at seminars. And that part was really wonderful. But there were girls in my season and other seasons that had it easier because they didn't win. And, they might have had a little bit more upfront work that they had to find their own agency and stuff. But a lot of them probably had people reaching out to them as well. Like, hey, we would like to represent you. And I know one of the girls on my season is incredibly successful, but she's very talented acting wise.
Oh, yes.
And she actually broke into the Annalie Tipton.
Annalie, that's right. Yes.
Except for she goes by Leo now, I think.
I've seen her in a few movies. Yeah. She looks familiar.
Yeah. So she actually, from what I understand, she got her break in acting because they wanted 2 girls from Top Model to be on The Big Bang Theory. And so she was one of the girls that was living in LA that they picked to go there. And then she just, networked her way as she was there. And they're like, hey, we'd like to use you for other things. Come to an audition here. Here's my agent's card, whatever it was. And so, you have that and they have a little bit more freedom versus me. I don't have permission to do anything without my agent signing off on it first. And so there was a couple things that was like, hey, I go to my agent, hey, that I got approached and somebody wants me to do this. You think it'd be possible for me to be able to do this? No. If you want to do things like that, you need to go through us. And it's just like, oh my gosh. Eventually I just got sick of it and I left New York and I went to Paris and just went where people liked me a little better.
Really? Paris? You lived in Paris for like a little bit?
I lived in Paris, and after Paris, I lived in Sydney for a little bit. And then we moved to California for a little bit and back to Chicago for a while. And yeah.
That's quite the life. Yeah, you lived quite an interesting life. How many years did you continue doing modeling after the show?
Man, okay, let's see. So the show was filmed in 2009, I believe. My daughter was born in 2013, and I modeled through my pregnancy with her. So I'd say 4 years after the show.
Wow. That's a pretty good career in modeling, right? Or no, is that a lot? Yeah.
I mean, I still do things here and there, but it's not a serious thing for me. For me, it was always like a single person job because you have to go on so many castings before you book something. So what am I supposed to do? I can't bring my kid on my castings. And we were living either an hour or 18 hours away from LA, depending on traffic. So it didn't make sense once I had a kid to keep doing it like normal, but I still work with a lot of companies I used to work with before. And that's been such a blessing to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy you found MMA because it seems like a way better fit. So I guess I gotta ask, when did MMA come into the picture officially? When did you start practicing MMA?
So Sam and I started training MMA when he took his first fight for, I don't know, not really any reason at all. As far as I can remember, when I was a senior going into my freshman year of college. So that would have been 2007. So we both started training my senior year of high school because he went to do a stick fighting competition and somehow ended up in a pancration tournament. And
wait, is this the Russia one? Wait, when did the Russia trip come into it?
The Russia trip came into play when he was an amateur.
Okay.
Later. But that was I want to say that was a long time after, but that was only 6 months later.
Okay, yeah.
It was a fast timeline, but when I filmed Top Model, we were actually training for, where were we going? We were going somewhere in the Middle East for a pancration tournament, and Sam ended up going, but I couldn't go because basically Top Model called me and was like, it's not a good idea. What if you show up with a black eye for the shoot?
God.
I was like, okay, why do I even tell these people things? Seriously, what's the worst that happens? You get a busted lip or a black eye. I went on the show with a black eye, for crying out loud. I just put makeup on it. Nobody saw it. Nobody ever made any comments about it. Yeah. So it's just, you heal so fast that it seems dumb. I've only had one major injury and it did not happen in this timeline of my life, thankfully.
Yeah. Did you know you loved MMA right off the bat when you started?
Yeah, I mean, we just had so much fun with it. There was no MMA program at the gym that Sam was going to. It was like a weapons and karate gym. So we were the founding members of our pancration team, and then Sam started fighting, and then it's like, okay, well, now I guess we're an MMA team too. And so people started coming in, and we really started building a team, and I was there from the beginning of it. And the more Sam got into fighting, it just became clear I was going to have to learn how to figure out how to help him, I guess, if he was really going to do it. And at first I was planning on, competing with him. But when he started doing MMA, I was like, well, this is different. And there weren't really any girls doing it at that time.
Right.
There you'd see a couple of them at the fights, but the fights back then were like, hey, who wants to fight?
Right.
Seriously, this girl over here needs an opponent. Yeah.
So they just put you in the backstage, start getting ready to fight this random person you just met.
Yeah, you were in these tents. It's 30 degrees in there. It was so weird. It's just bizarre. It was before they had commissions in Wisconsin. And so I just started getting good at the other things. I started learning how to wrap hands. We started watching tons of UFC. We started watching The Ultimate Fighter. And I lived in an all boys dorm for whatever reason, my freshman year of college. So it was fun because none of the guys ever minded me putting on UFC on the big TV downstairs because my TV was a foot big. And it was fun. So I was there right from the start when he started fighting. He just took it more seriously. And I mean, I never thought about competing in anything more than jiu-jitsu since I was doing pancration. Just because, there was modeling, then there was kids, and, then all of a sudden COVID hit, and I was like, I've been training for how long now? And I've been right there with these guys, I was out on the mats with Sam most of his camps, and it just, I was like, man, I should see if there's any way I can compete in this. So
yeah, he was saying something about a fight
if,
with Paige. Yeah, is he trolling about that? I don't know if he's joking. I can't
no,
tell.
He's dead serious. he really is dead serious. I don't know. I'm willing to, but I got to get more time away from my kids to train. He moved me to Tennessee where, starting up in a new gym is hard. It used to be so easy. We were both in the gym 6 hours a day and our kids had childcare right there. We can see them right from the window. They can come to us whenever they want. And it was easy. Now it's a little bit more difficult.
Right. I imagine. Yeah. I don't know how you do it. It seems like you're doing so many things.
Yeah. This has been definitely like the more difficult year out of any time we've been doing things, just because I'm not there for his camps right now. He's off in California. I'm here with the kids, and just figuring out a new gym situation that works for him and for us has been a trial too. So
you said you love jiu-jitsu. Is that what did you do any tournaments in that?
Yeah, I competed at purple and blue belts, and I just signed up for Worlds in September.
Wow,
so
awesome.
The World Masters in September, because I get to be a master now because I'm cool. And yeah, I'm teaching now 3 days a week at Checkmat Gym. So that's been fun. I got to teach in California, but this is the first time that I'm teaching adult men.
Right, that's crazy, right?
Fun.
That must be like a surreal feeling.
It's so bizarre. I mean, I don't know why it's such a big jump for me, because I've been training for so long and I've gotten to cover classes. So it's not like I don't have anything to teach people. Obviously, it's fun. It's just, wow, I'm training guys that are 100 pounds heavier than me.
Yeah. I remember there was a clip for America's Next Top Model. It was in Amsterdam. You were like literally had this dude in a headlock. They only showed it for a brief second. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, she's just choking this random dude out in Amsterdam.
I don't even remember why. Honestly, I'm a bit of a bully. Anybody will tell you that. Any kind of mean move in jiu-jitsu, it's up my alley.
Sam actually said that. He says, like, you don't like to do the easy chokes. He likes to do the really brutal ones. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's like, do you like go for the knees? Do you go for the ankles?
My favorite choke is Sam calls it the Mckey necktie. It's my own choke, and it involves putting your leg inside the choke and cranking up on the head and down with your leg. And
and you've got like a really long leg, so that's not easy to get out of probably. Jesus.
And I'm very bony too, so it's just not enjoyable.
Fair. I don't know. The MMA thing is fascinating to me, that you found something that seems so much more genuine than modeling, and that seems like the people there were so different. And when you finally got out of modeling and you went into MMA, how was that transition in that life when you did MMA full time?
It was fun. I get to manage a bunch of guys, and so having been on the other side of having management that just shelves you and you have to constantly hustle for yourself, it's nice to be able to be the person that believes in people and wants to get them places. I get frustrated when they're not getting where they need to go, and it's fun. So I love that side of things. I love that you're able to put in the work and see it actually come to fruition, versus work so hard for something and then just be canceled or not get the job. Like, these guys get to go out there and their fight might not happen that weekend. It might not happen next month. Right. COVID might push it off for 6 months, but eventually these guys are going to get to go in there. They're going to train for the fights that they have, and they're going to get to showcase their talents. And it really is very rewarding that way. And it's fun getting to be there, being the one getting punched in the face and kicked by them, and then watch them do it to somebody else.
That's an enjoyable trait, I guess, for you, but I don't know how many other people can relate to get punched in the face and enjoying it. That seems like a hard sell for many.
It doesn't hurt as much as you think it would.
I got a pretty bad nose as is. I don't want to get this thing worse. It already looks like an Owen Wilson nose.
I wear the full headgear.
Okay, that's fair. So,
I learned pretty quickly.
That's fair. You obviously your husband's coach, and I kind of asked him about this. I thought it was a really interesting dynamic. How does that work when you're his coach? His wife is kind of everything. It seems like there's a lot that could potentially go wrong there from like an outsider looking in, but he was saying it works really well for you guys.
Well, I mean, I get to take 100% of what he makes, and then so the pay's not bad. And then and we spend so much time around each other and then not around each other. It kind of works out. I feel like I see my husband less than all of his training partners do because of how much time it all occupies. But when we train together, I get to be there, but we don't always get to do all rounds with each other. So it's funny when we're sparring, we'll be catching each other up like, oh yeah, hey, can you grab the kids and take them to this? Because I got this tonight.
As you got him in a rear naked or something. I don't want to do it today.
So that's kind of how we do our communicating. But then, it's easy because if he's got questions about, what's going on and when we're going to try and get him a fight, I'm right there. He can micromanage me. And it kind of works out just being all up in each other's business. We've both got things that we take care of. I do the finances. He does our direct deposit for the checks because I can never remember to deposit checks. And it's just, I don't know, it kind of works out. I guess we're just lucky that way. Everybody says marriage is rough and I can see that, but it just really hasn't been for us.
Right. And you're also doing this while juggling 5 kids, right? Like that, how the hell are you doing this? I don't understand. Are you going to make a book or something and sell it to people?
Parenthood is a different thing because you never people can say we're great parents, but do you really know if you're great parents until your kids grow up? And at what age of them growing up do you really count it as success or not? Because they could fall apart at any point.
True,
so
right.
I'm like, oh shoot, I think we're doing okay. I think they're all happy and well adjusted, but then they might grow up and be like, oh, our parents dragged us all over the world and every sweaty gym.
My mom is choking my dad out currently in the other room. I don't know what's going on. I don't think they're fighting. I think this is a work related thing.
They're just going over contract negotiations again. What we're watching on the TV tonight.
Right.
But it's fun. It's been it's just been a crazy kind of life. I look at my friends' lives and we're definitely have very different structures and how things are going. But I can't feel more blessed than how we've been able to raise our kids and get through our relationship so far.
What do you think about going forward then? What's the plans for the future? Do you actually see yourself fighting or is that kind of the past?
I would honestly love to. I am, I'm getting up there in age, but I like to think that women, we age a little bit slower than men physically. So, I don't know if it's true, but there's been a number of studies that say that women are stronger after childbirth and there should be different brackets for women before and after children.
What? Really?
Yeah. So I'm like, that's interesting. So I'm just going to go with that and say that I still have a couple of years to see if I could do something in this, just because kind of my life motto for the last while has been, if I don't do something, then I'm never going to have done it. So,
yes.
If we don't move to Tennessee and own a ranch and horses, then we're never going to have done that.
Is that where you're at right now? Is this like a ranch or something? I don't know what is this, a park?
Yeah, this is my house. We've got, there's our pasture back there.
That's
we
lovely.
Legit moved to 5 acres in Tennessee and we just got our first 2 horses. We've got 30 chickens in there. I've got 15 ducks coming. Oh my gosh.
It keeps dropping. The audio is good, but the video cuts out once in a while.
No, it's my husband's calling me.
Oh.
So he got a new phone, so I think he's just excited.
Fair. This is so you're living the farm life now, kind of also distant from cities and stuff, or what?
We are 25 minutes from Nashville. So
okay.
Sam fought in Nashville twice. We loved it, and we decided to move there. I don't know why.
Okay, wow. You guys just up and move like it's nothing with 5 kids and then buy horses.
Pretty much, yeah. It was a good time to sell in California, so.
Fair enough.
It was tough. It was very, very hard. Our gym is there, and that's our life. If we could take our gym with us, I would have. But I mean, honestly, that's the one part of California I miss is our gym. And if that's all I can say about that, then that's.
Yeah, it must be hard, right? Because you have new clients, new people. You have a gym. You have to set up a new community, kind of, right?
Yeah, it's definitely hard. We brought one of our fighters with us. Another one's coming in a year, and I still manage the same guys, but it's heart-wrenching. It's been the hardest year of my life, but it's setting up for the future. We can't stay there forever, and it's just kind of that next chapter for us. And it's not the first time we moved. Sam was from Wisconsin. That's where we started our career. That's where we started our gym. We left our gym there. It's just the older you get, the harder it does get, I think.
For sure. It's also, you've got a lot of miles, and you gotta, it adds up. Like, it adds up if you don't take any breaks and on vacation, stuff like that. That stuff hurts. Yeah. Maybe you don't think about it, but it hurts in the long run.
The fights are the vacation, right?
What? Maybe we have a very different opinion on. I think like a beach in Spain is a vacation. You think getting punched in the face is a day off or something. I don't know.
That's kind of how your friends view it, though. I mean, the ones that aren't in fighting, it's like, oh, we're going to Sydney this week. They're like, oh, that's so fun. That's so awesome. What are you going to do there? I'm like, well, we're going to cut weight and we're going to fight.
Oh,
my God. They're like, oh, it should be so much fun. I'm like, yeah. I guess.
So I get it, yeah. They're like, I'm sure it's hard to explain your life and career path to most of your friends, right? Like, it seems such a surreal path.
Yeah, your family all looks at you kind of weird too, but
What did your parents think, or what did Sam's parents think when you said you wanted to get into MMA and you want to get punched in the face?
I think Sam got them all broken in, so they're all right. They're fine now, but my parents, I think, are still just shaking their heads in the sidelines and have been for over a decade now. Just like, what on earth?
That's so funny.
We raised this girl to play golf and tennis, and then she played soccer, and now she's doing, what is she doing? Who knows? That's
fair. I mean, now you're coaching MMA. You're also coaching your husband. You're fully invested in the MMA game, I guess. That's where all your stocks are.
That's where our life is, and where it's going to continue to be until it's not. So hopefully we've got a long run in this, and we'll get to be one of those crazy couples that are old and still competing. Yeah,
that brings up a good next segue, I guess. Sam, what's the next plan for him? Are you guys talking about another fight, or?
We're going to get him another fight, and the man wants to fight till he's dead. So I don't know. He's going to fight, and he's, our kids are on him. They want to see a win. So I'm hoping that,
the our kids want to see a win. That's funny. Instead of like, hey, Dad, don't fight. Come on, Dad. We got to get a win.
That's the hard part about them growing up. I mean, honestly, it's heartbreaking. It's like before win or lose, they're like, Daddy went and fought. Daddy fought. Yeah. Daddy on TV. They were just, they were all so thrilled about that. But now it's like, if Sam loses, we get the phone call with the tears and having to explain to them what happened. You can't win them all. And sometimes, it's judges. Other times it's, well, we screwed up and we really lost. And my kids just watched their dad get choked out on TV. And
right.
I think have been around it enough that they know he's not hurt. They know he's okay, but it's hard for them when part of their own self-confidence is rooted in how their parents do. And so they want to see him win. They want to see us win, and we want to see them win. And we take them to jiu-jitsu tournaments so that they can, go out there and try and win themselves. And unfortunately, there's a lot more losing than winning in life. It feels like, I don't know how that works out, because it should work out 50-50, but
it'll come up later. It'll add up later, maybe. I don't know.
You got to be not good before you're good, right?
Sure.
So that's the hard part about them getting older. So Sam's going to go out there. He's going to fight. We're going to hopefully bring home kids a win, and we'll take each one as it comes. He likes coaching. Eventually, we'd like to have a gym of our own, a team of our own. But in the meantime, we are part of teams that we want to see, and we want to grow, and we want to watch those guys get their careers entrenched. And it's so much fun because so many of these kids have grown up now training MMA, training jiu-jitsu, and it's a whole different ball game when you've got people actually growing up doing jiu-jitsu and MMA versus just wrestling, switching into it,
How hard is it? Because you're also a coach now. So like some of the burden and weight falls on you if there's ever a bad performance or a loss. Is it tough dealing with it from a coach's perspective?
It's right up my alley.
Is it really?
It's rough because sometimes I have to really hold, like, I'm not ever gonna be that coach that like drags people down, but there is a point in time, like when somebody is just lost, that you have to like hold them steady while they kind of mentally wrap their brains around it. And like the first thing I want to do is be like, hey, why did you do this? Like why was that the choice that led to this. Like, you know, there's just some times that your guys just don't go out there and perform. And I want to be the one that's there, like critiquing it, because I'm that competitive. I want to win. I take every loss personally. It's something that we didn't do right or something that we screwed up on. And so I feel like I've got the right amount of support in me somewhere that,
right.
You know, this is perfect for me. I think it's a good fit.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think it's tougher to be a coach than it is actually being a fighter, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot more facets. If somebody fails, you kind of do feel responsible, and you kind of have to keep them happy. And I feel like there's so much waiting in this game that part of the hardest part of being a coach is keeping people interested while they're waiting it out, while they're growing to that next level, especially when they start getting good, because other people start coming and talking in their ears too. And then you got to deal with it. So it's the mental side of it. I think that's the hardest, both when losing, in winning, and getting more successful, because you have to make sure that they feel like they are where they need to be.
Yeah, it seems like that's a sentiment amongst all people and people in the MMA. Because I asked Stipe Miocic. I asked him, "Hey, is it tougher being a fighter or being a coach?" This is a guy that's fought 7-8 times for the title, and he, like, without hesitation, he's like, "It's definitely being a coach. Like, I can't control my guy in there. I can control my own mistakes and kind of rationalize why I did some things wrong, but you can't rationalize why someone else did something wrong." And that's a question you almost struggle to find an answer to, because you just can't.
Right. And sometimes your guys just don't go out there and they don't perform.
And that's not an answer you want, right?
It's so hard, because you know that they know too. And it's like, you're frustrated, they're frustrated, but the best kind of guy to coach, honestly, is the one that's able to work through it. It's like, hey, we're having an off night. This is not working. Let's go and try this. And the guys that are able to fix that in that moment are the ones that are just amazing and are going to go on to do great things. But, you know, sometimes you just don't have those people. And I had a coach once that always said that there's fighters that are emotional and there's fighters that are mental, and some of them just show up in practice and they're great in practice, and you put them in a fight and they fall apart. And there's other ones that are just so lackluster in practice, and then they go fight and they have it. So you want the fighter that's the perfect blend of, you know, all of that, and just is able together. And, you know, I think about that every time my guys go out there and don't perform, you know, because they're so used to performing in the gym in their own environment that then just sometimes just all the other external influences and internal influences just keep them from being able to do it.
Right. That's in any sport too. That's not just MMA. That thing you can see in any sport. Yeah.
Sports psychologists make a ton of money every year.
Right.
Money. They make money in the big leagues, but before then, there's a lot.
One more thing I wanted to ask you. You're also working with Dan Henderson, right? Or no?
That's our gym that we're moving from. Yeah, I still work with guys from there.
How's that been?
That's been our home. Dan's amazing. I love that gym. The guys there are all great. It's been wonderful watching it grow from such a small gym where everybody was a fighter to this big gym where most of the people that train there now are not fighters. And then you've got this strong fight team of people that you've watched come up since they were teenagers, and really wonderful. And then Dan just comes in there as this, you know, looking like he just came off the beach with the sandals and puts a whooping on everybody. And
really?
It's just like,
still, he's like 50. He's still beating guys. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Broke his hand on Sam's face.
No
not
way.
That long year ago, yeah.
Sam did not disclose that. I just want to let you know. Sam did not say anything about that. I don't know if that shocks you or not.
Breaking. I'm not really sure if that's something to be proud of.
Sam said he has a better punching power than Dan. He did say that, though.
Oh, I don't know. Dan's one of those guys that if Sam punches him, Dan will come back for revenge. The first time he came home so giddy from practice. He was like, "Oh my gosh." It's like, "Oh my gosh, you have 2 black eyes. What happened to you?" He's like, "I gave Dan a black eye." Dan Henderson, I gave him a black eye today.
Oh my God.
Like, he got you back. I don't know if you noticed, but
he didn't care. He didn't care. Just to have that on his resume, I got Dan Henderson a black eye. Believe it or not, we did almost an hour. We did 45 minutes. I asked you a lot of questions. I really enjoyed your time. I appreciate it. Is there anything you're working on that you want to plug? Anything like you're making content, Instagram, anything?
My husband is always working on there. He's working on his YouTube. He said, give him all the plugs
Okay.
at Smiling Sam, where he's at. And he is really into that. I teach at Checkmat, Mount Juliet. So, if anybody ever wants to come in, I would love to have more students for a new gym, and we are growing, and I plan on being there for quite some time. So
Beautiful.
looking forward to get some wins and getting some people up from white belt.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed the conversation.
No worries. It was wonderful talking to you.